Hi, dear After Ellen viewers, and welcome to another episode of Dana Does It with Glee. My major apologies for not having a Dana Does It with Glee last week. I was having some technical issues with my computer, but hopefully those are all sorted out. Anyway, so this episode of Glee was called Feud. And man, did we have quite a few of those. Let's discuss, shall we? First, we've got the feud between Finn Hudson and Will Schuester. This relationship is so bizarre in so many ways and so weirdly inappropriate. I mean, ever since Finn was a sophomore, Will has been putting all these really adult expectations on the guy. So, what are they? Are they bros? Are they friends? Are they student-teacher? Are they more than that? No, absolutely not. Then we have a feud-ish between Ryder and Unique. Kind of feels manufactured because really Ryder doesn't have any history of being homophobic or transphobic or even a jerk. I mean, he's a pretty nice guy. Okay, so it's not so nice to try to kiss your best friend's girlfriend. Granted. But who hasn't been there? Anyway, I felt they kind of pulled it together for a plot device, but I have a feeling that it may be leading into something that has to do with Ryder and his new online lady friend. Next, we have a feud between Sue Sylvester and Blaine Warbler Anderson. There was a time I felt that they started slacking in the Sue department, but the last couple episodes she's had some really great scenes and some really great dialogue, and this was a great scene, hilarious with the addition of Tina just sitting there. I laughed out loud when the camera panned to her. We should not underestimate Blaine, especially when he's working with Sam, because the two of them have already pulled off some pretty interesting schemes, and I am fascinated to see how they plan to take Sue Sylvester down. So finally, the only feud that really matters in this episode is that between Santana Flawless Lopez and Brody What's-His-Face. I'd like to expand upon this feud because it really speaks a lot to the whole situation of Santana in New York and her relationship with Kurt and Rachel, more than it says anything about Brody. We all know Santana is not a nice person. She's mean. She is spiteful. She can be downright awful. She is also perfect, and most importantly, she is right, especially about Brody. She knows that he is up to some Shadesville shady-townness, but based on her track record, understandably, Kurt and Rachel are hesitant to completely buy her line. Santana's capacity to allow people to know her, to allow people into her life is very limited. But she's trying. For the people that she does let in, she cares fiercely and will do anything to protect them. And Santana does confront Brody twice. Once at Niata, where she whips out the big Abdul guns, and second, in the hotel room. And what irked me about this episode is that it wasn't just a confrontation between Santana and Brody. They had to teleport Finn in to bring on some sort of macho slap fest, which just kind of took the air out of this amazing plot line that Santana was having throughout this episode. I could have done without it. But while we are on the subject of Santana, Santana, can't this just be your show? Show the other cast members the door, 'cause we can sit around and watch you all day. And you might be a straight up bitch, but even Pin for Bray got a little unhitched when you gave her the dimmers and that 2-for-1 that day. All we're saying is we're so damn glad you're staying, and your fans will just keep praying for more. One more plotty thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into the musical numbers, is the situation between Marley and Jake. So they kissed and made up. Yay. Honestly, this storyline is kind of landing with a thud. It's just a snooze fest. But I was really happy when Marley stood up for herself, and when Jake said he didn't want her to be friends with Ryder, she said, "No, you're not going to tell me who I can and can't be friends with." So some nice character growth there. The first song of the evening was "How to Be a Heartbreaker" by Marina and the Diamonds. And this is about as much enthusiasm as I can muster, because this was probably my least favorite song ever on Glee. And that's saying a lot. What the hell was happening? Everything, the dance number, the premise. Were we in the Matrix? I don't even know what was happening. Even Rachel Berry couldn't save this number. It was an abomination. And you guys know I like to stay kind of positive about things, but next we head back to McKinley for the mashup of Elton John's "The Bitch Is Back" and Madonna's "Dress You Up in My Love." This was a great mashup. Ryder's voice is strong in this. Unfortunately, they didn't do him any favors by sticking him behind the drum set, just like they used to stick Finn behind the drum set. Anyway, whatever. But Unique sounds great. She had a really, really fat run right at the end. She kind of did like a little fist pump. I was like, yeah! Right at the end of this number, when Ryder and Unique are still kind of having a bit of a confrontation, Jake says something really poignant. He says, "In this room, we can be whoever we want." Yes! That is the mission statement of Glee. Yes! Next, we get the number that we had all been waiting for. "Cold Hearted Snake" by Paula Abdul and sung by Santana. Wow. I needed a cigarette after this. And I don't even smoke. Naya once again takes an iconic song and totally makes it her own. Ever since the beginning of the season, when I first saw the dance studio in Niata, all I kept thinking was, when are they going to do Cold Hearted Snake? They've got to do Cold Hearted Snake in here. And I was right. Santana was probably still finding girls' numbers in her clothes for like 3 days after this number. It's mashup time again, and this time, "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC and "I Want It That Way" by the Backstreet Boys. This is sung by the New Directions guys and Mr. Shiv. Okay. If I close my eyes and just listen, it's a really decent mashup. But then I open them and I have to watch what's actually happening. The intercut fantasy sequence of the fight scenes was a little bit much. That was a bit much. And then when Will Schuester gets that like serious emotional face thing on, it just makes me really uncomfortable. I imagine that was a really tough scene to shoot with the ropes and the tethers and the dancing. I'm sure it was very complicated, but holy mashups, Batman. We have another one. This one is pairing Mariah Carey's "I Still Believe" with Nicki Minaj, "Super Bass." One thing I just couldn't really wrap my head around was, why "I Still Believe"? Why not like "Fantasy" or "Always Be My Baby" or something? At least something, where she does like that. Excuse me. So not unlike Super Bass, this number was super fun. It was fluff, it was silly, but it was really enjoyable, and you've got to hand it to Jane Lynch. The woman has no fear. She is not afraid in the least bit to look or appear foolish, and she just takes everything they give her and just goes with it. That is the mark of a truly, truly wonderful actor. And the closing number, which was really exciting to see, was Tegan and Sarah's Closer, sung by the entire New Directions crew. I was so pleased to see them doing a Tegan and Sarah number. The royalties alone on this iTunes will pay for alternative lifestyle haircuts for the two of them for the next 200 years. I couldn't be happier. Gosh darn it, it was like lesbian Christmas. One quibble, and this is becoming a general concern of mine, is that I can't help but notice that these closing numbers that the New Directions have been doing lately kind of feel a little disjointed and even a bit sloppy. Not choreographed as much as just chaos. So Naya Rivera was interviewed recently, and she brought up the fact that when she was back in New Directions in Ohio set, they would rehearse like 6 hours a day on dance routines, and now it seems like it's just a bunch of kids running around in balloons, and it really kind of does feel that way as a viewer as well. Overall, this season, it feels like Glee gives us 2 or 3 really, really wonderful, well-written, well-crafted episodes, and then follows them by 2 or 3 really kind of maybe mediocre, not so well-crafted episodes. It really seems to feel like a pattern. What do you think, dear viewers? How are you feeling now we're getting into the latter half of the season? Ever since Santana moved to New York, are you feeling a different vibe from the show? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please tell me in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Dana Does It